uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment.
That peace has finally returned to the state. We've all agreed to work together with the governor, and the governor has also agreed to work together with all of us who are members of the same political 2025. That peace has finally returned to the state. We've all agreed to work together with the governor, and the governor has also agreed to work together with all of us who are members of the same political family. Yes, just like humans, you have a disagreement, and then you also have a time to also settle your disagreement, and that has been finally concluded today, and we have come to report to Mr. President that is what we have agreed. So for me, everything is over, and enjoy everybody who believe to work with us, to also work together with everybody. That there's no more acrimony, there's nothing to say we're disagreeing. We have all agreed on everything. So we thank God. For me, it's a day we have to thank Almighty God.
For me, it's very important that this day has come to be. What we need for the progress of Rivers State is peace. And by the special grace of God this night, with the help of Mr. President and the agreement of the leaders of the states, including our leader, peace has returned in Rivers State. We'll do everything within our power to make sure that we sustain it this time around. Thank you.
Okay, all right then. That footage is coming from the meeting between the estranged political friends, Wike-Fubara and Nyesom Wike, after their peace deal, where they called a truce, and after their meeting with the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who more like brokered the deal between the two of them. Oh, well, good evening and thanks for joining us on Political Lens. I am Chukwuma Okoro, and we are broadcasting on Metro SLTV channel 264. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People Television, and on other social media platforms, we are BOP TV Live. Join the conversation by calling in or sending WhatsApp messages to the number showing on your screen. You can also feel free, to put up your comments on the comment section on YouTube, and also ask the guests constructive questions if you have any. And I assure you that your voice will be heard. On the show today, Wike-Fubara peace may collapse as Wike insists Fubara must not contest in 2027. Well, the peace deal between the estranged political friends, Nyesom Wike and Wike-Fubara, may not last longer, as the conditions for peace may be the precursor to a bigger problem in the future. Sources within the presidency revealed that following the peace deal, President Bola Tinubu has agreed to reinstate Wike-Fubara as the governor of Rivers State. He is still on suspension due to the state of emergency that was declared in Rivers State. But with Nyesom Wike insisting that one of the conditions is that Fubara will not seek re-election in 2027. Now, that's huge. Well, the truce was reached during a closed-door meeting on Thursday night at the presidential villa, where Tinubu hosted Nyesom Wike, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike-Fubara, suspended governor of Rivers State, Martin Amaewhule, the factional speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, and a handful of lawmakers. According to sources, part of a broader effort to restore democratic order in Rivers State involved significant concessions. And according to insiders, one of the key terms is that Fubara will be reinstated to complete his 4-year tenure, but must forego any plans to seek a second term in 2027. That's one of the conditions sources said that Wike put forward, a move that will limit Fubara's clout, which Fubara anyway agreed to. A source also said as part of the conditions, Wike will be allowed to nominate all the local government chairpersons across the 23 local government areas of Rivers State. A source in the presidency said this will serve as a significant political leverage, restoring grassroots control of the FCT minister. The sources said that Fubara has also agreed to pay all outstanding allowances and entitlements owed to the 27 lawmakers loyal to Wike who were suspended from the State Assembly. In return, the lawmakers will not initiate any impeachment proceedings against Fubara. The suspended legislatures led by Emehule had defected to the All Progressives Congress, APC, amid the power tussle, but continue to lay claims to their seat. Their status as lawmakers has been a subject of legal and political debate. Sources described Thursday's night's meeting as a breakthrough in Tinubu's push to reconcile Wike and the governor, but at the cost of Fubara giving up a significant stretch of powers in exchange for political survival. The arrangement is clear: no second term, no local government control, and peace will return. Sources said the president made it clear that Rivers cannot afford a prolonged crisis. The deal is about restoring calm, but it comes at a steep cost for Fubara, another source said. Wike is the real winner here. By controlling the local government chairman, he retains significant influence over the state's political machinery, which will be crucial for 2027. The political rift between Fubara and Wike, his predecessor, has largely centered on control of political structure in the oil-rich state, Rivers State. While Wike has sought to maintain a firm grip on the political machinery he built over 8 years in office as governor, Fubara had pushed back to assert his control as governor. While the power struggle triggered a political crisis in the state, destabilizing governance, culminating in an attempt to impeach Fubara. Key institutions, including the State Assembly, have been caught in the crossfire with factions aligning with Wike or Fubara. Previously, attempts made by the president to broker peace between the two camps hit a brick wall. Consequently, on March 18, Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers, citing prolonged crisis. I think Nigerians are familiar with all of that. Now let's bring in our guest here, as we are joined in the studio here in Lagos by Asim Adams. Asim Adams is a legal practitioner, rights activist, spokesperson, Chief Beatrice Tubo / Peter Obi campaign organization in the Labour Party 2023 general elections in Rivers State. Good evening, Barrister Asim, and thanks for coming to Political Lens.
Good evening.
We appreciate your presence.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Okoro, and good evening, Nigerians.
Okay, good to have you here.
It's a pleasure.
Now, from what you know that happened, can you help us take a peep into the future of politics in Rivers? Do you see this peace deal lasting as long as the inks dry? I mean, let's say that the peace deal was the pen down yesterday. How long do you think that this will last, given the brick walls, the entry barriers, the contraptions, more like as some pundits have described it, in that peace? Does it look like a real peace deal? What do you understand? And can you help us take a peep into the future?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I will start by, looking at what Mahatma Gandhi, once said. He said the most disadvantageous of peace is better than a just war. So if you see a peace move or deal that will enthrone peace, there might be some disadvantages to you or one or two persons there, but it's better than a just war. That is what Mahatma Gandhi said. Now, coming to this particular agreement, you see, agreement has preconditions. Some of those conditions are that the one or two persons or more will come together and agree on a particular thing. Once those people have what they call legal capacity, legally speaking, there's an agreement in place.
Okay.
Agreement also has what they call consideration. That is offer and acceptance, then you have consideration, underlying, an agreement. Now, consideration can come in form of cash or kind. If you are buying a property, for instance, the consideration is the money you pay to the owner of the property, and in exchange, you have the property.
Okay.
Now, in this kind of agreement, the consideration here is that something of value has to be exchanged.
Something of value.
Something of value has to be exchanged.
Okay. So what would that be?
That is an agreement.
Okay.
Something of value, something you regard valuable, must, be exchanged.
Does it sound like a compromise?
Well, you see, politics is about lobbying.
Okay.
Politics is not, hard fast like people look at it. It's not cast in stone.
Okay.
Where you say the moment I'm like this, I'm going to be like that. No. Okay. Politics as it is. Even if you look at parliaments all over the world, especially the Congress in America, you have people who are lobbyists. You have people who are filibusters.
Okay.
The lobbyists, their duty is to go out and lobby others to accept, their own way of looking at things. So it's done in a more peaceful arrangement, as the case may be. Then this of Rivers State, let me tell you why I feel this will not crumble.
Okay. You think it will not crumble?
It will not crumble. You know why? The other agreement that was entered sometime last year,
okay,
you remember that a lot of publicity was not made of that agreement like what we have today. We only heard that there was a closed-door meeting. And the meeting was...
You mean the one that the president had with...
Yes, that the first agreement.
The first agreement, yes, where they asked Wike-Fubara to go and withdraw the case.
And withdraw those cases.
Okay.
We didn't see these optics like we are saying. Now we saw just very few of them. We didn't see Wike and Fubara shaking hands in that particular meeting.
That was in the heat of the moment.
We didn't see them, yes, okay. I understand. We heard the president brokered a peace. Okay. And when the president brokered that peace, we had one or two, one Mr. Briggs or Mr. Briggs, and I think Odili or whoever, they were with the president, but we never see the optics. We never saw the optics. Okay. Two is that as at that time, it was at the peak. The blood pressure of both parties were on the high side. Okay. You found out that even their supporters were daggers drawn.
Upbeat.
Oh, they upbeat. I was in Port Harcourt. I was in River State. Okay. You found that everywhere you went to that time, it was the topic. On radio, television in River State, every minute we are discussing that. Now, as time progressed,
okay,
we said or we thought that this was going to end in the favor of Wike-Fubara. He has dealt with the Godfather. He has done this, he has done that. The assembly, at that time, with Nestorian braggadocio, you found out that the governor was speaking and saying, I will never recognize the 27 lawmakers. Okay. I will never, their matter is gone and their matter is gone. You understand? We are going to use Otapia, to maybe kill those rats that have been eating rivers.
He was talking tough.
Talking tough.
Okay.
The same thing like the Wike was also talking tough. Oh. We can never have it. There will be no, you will not rule. It is as the case, sorry. You will not be there. So, but as time, went on, people started intervening. And that when you have situations of this nature, the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, people are upbeat. But later, you now get back home. Okay. Both sides now begin to realize that was there any need for this, whatever. And that was the reason why you found out that quite lately, Fubara even had to go on he went solo. Every church gathering, or a church meeting, every gathering he had opportunity. Even when E.K. Clark was to be laid to rest, you saw the statement he made there. Okay. And came out and said, look, he's tired of all these things.
Okay, so does it look like both of them got to what we call a mutually hurting stalemate?
Absolutely.
Where they were, both parties were. Because in your opening intervention, yes, you said that more like Fubara at this time is now negotiating from a point of weakness.
Does
it look like he is actually overwhelmed? And does it also look like this peace deal is largely in favor of Nyesom Wike?
You see, the point is this. Because you have gone out to negotiate, as a lawyer, For 32 years, I've been practicing law, and in most of my cases, some of the finest cases I've won are matters I negotiated or we had an agreement.
Out of court?
Out of court.
Okay.
And it's no weakness.
Negotiated settlement.
You see, negotiated settlement, because you see, by virtue of our training as lawyers, say, before you litigate, mediate, arbitrate. So arbitration and mediation does not mean that you are weak.
Okay.
But a lot of people see it that the moment you throw what they call the olive branch and say, okay, can we talk? They see you as a weakling. You know, this man, Fubara, is not a weakling. By stretching out his hand and say, oh, let us be realistic about all these things. Why can't we sit down and talk? I have re-examined my conscience. And he went under the school of thought of the Jonathans of this world. They say that my ambition is not worth the blood of any river citizen.
Okay.
And even Yeso Wike came out and said, look, for him, he never envisaged that they will declare a state of emergency in River State. That was a statement frankly spoken from the bottom of his heart. That, yes, he knows he has an enemy, a political enemy in it, but he was thinking.
He also said that, look, it was the state of emergency that saved Fubara.
That saved him.
Otherwise, he would have been
That's right. So that tells you that he is not happy about the state of affairs.
Okay.
For 3 months, the state is almost collapsing. Even the House of Assembly that he holds dear to his heart were suspended too. You understand? So he came out to say, I was thinking to be a very sharp, whatever we're going to do, impeachment, then we start all over as the case may be. But I never envisaged it. So the two, titans, had to reason. And, I'm very happy that they reasoned, and this is what it's all about. Because for me, they acted like statesmen. It gives me, another...
Sorry, Barrister, did they act like statesmen, or have they become war weary?
No, not
like,
really.
like they said that, like what you said.
Yes.
In political science, they say that nations go to war when diplomacy fails.
Absolutely.
So because they had actually not been able to manage the crisis, in the first instance, did you see this coming? I mean, you were a Port Harcourt boy, and both parties.
I saw this.
You know Sim,
I saw this coming.
Okay, you saw this.
I saw this coming.
I'm not talking about the settlement. I'm talking about the crisis that erupted. Did you see that Sim was going to try to wrest power from Wike? Because as at the time he was made governor, we understand that Wike appointed the chief of staff, appointed the key commissioners, finance, works, and all of that. So did you envisage a situation where Sim February will be like suddenly try to take control of River State?
No, I never
saw
that coming. The only thing what exacerbated this was around, I think 18th of August, 2023, 2024. I think 2024. The erstwhile governor of River State, in the person of Dr. Peter Odili, who has been on self-exile, political exile from River State. He had feuds with Arotimi Amechi, etc. So all the period Amechi was in power, he was in Abuja. Then when we came in, they hobnobbed for a period of time. Then something happened again. He snapped. He went back to Abuja to hibernate. Then when he now came, when this thing, now to organize, a ballad for him and the family, that was where this thing heightened. Because it was Audrey that came up on that particular night to now pick up the mic and was not deriding and denigrating Yeso Wike. And he now made statements.
Did they have a problem before then? Wike and...
They've all had their problems. Amechi was a protege of Odili.
I understand.
You understand? Yes. Odili was also a protege of people like Harry Marshall, Dikibo. But that period, because of their political crisis, there were assassinations that took place. People said or insinuated that it was because of the political crisis in the state between the Dikibos Harry Marshals and Odile on the other hand.
Yes.
But that has not been proven. But that was the insinuation.
What was put out in the public.
In the public space. Then from there, it now came Amechi, who was Speaker, etc. And Omehia came in. You understand the point now? Odili now later, came in he wrote in his book. I'm trying to read out something he said in his book. Conscience and History. That is Odili, his autobiography. And I said that Amechi used to be his very close person. He's like a godfather to Amechi. He brought Amechi to power. He wanted Amechi to become governor. But that the powers that be from Abuja, then Obasanjo, never wanted Amechi to become governor because they said he had K-leg. Before OBJ came and foisted Celestine Omehia. That from that period onwards, Amechi now felt that Odili had a hand in his removal or substitution by Celestine Omehia. And he bore that grudge. You find that in Odili's autobiography, Conscience and History, written by Odili, for Odili, as case may be, he quoted and said that the reason why he had to leave Rivers State was because Amechi became belligerent and bellicose. And at the same time, he transferred aggression. I'm just quoting that he transferred aggression to perceived enemies who never wanted him to become governor, who suffered him for that period of about 6 months or thereabout by foisting Omehia on the people, while Amechi had to go on exile in Ghana. So Obdilina tried to clarify that he never participated in Omehia's coming, as case may be. But Amechi has never forgiven him. That does not know why. To the extent that when Amechi became governor, he set up, the first thing he did was set up this panel of inquiry to indict Odili. So these are things that has been on ground. So you find out that it's been successor, predecessor problem in Rivers State, as the case may be.
So how did Wike get involved in all of this?
Now, Wike became chief of staff. Wike was local government chairman, Obiakpo.
Chief of staff.
Then when he wrestled, he helped Amechi to get power from Supreme Court. He was now sworn in, that particular year. He became a pivotal force in the camp of Amechi. He became a very, important personality in the camp of Amechi, because I still see some graphics, pictures, where they sat down, took pictures together in Ghana and in Nigeria, as the case may be. Then, Amechi even said that because of what Wike did, that he wanted to make him, I think, commissioner for works or finance. You understand? But somehow, the political intrigues, they don't know how it came about. He now had to make a chief of staff, a very powerful position. That particular position of chief of staff was not a powerful position before in the eyes of those of us. But it was Nyesom Wike that made that particular position so powerful and influential.
But
as the case may be.
Odili's chief of staff was powerful too. Mary Odili's younger brother.
But it's not as powerful
as Wike.
Because it was there Wike gathered his strength. As chief of staff, he was able to
I want us to, because time is very perishable here. So I want us to connect how Odili started the problem between Wike and Fubara at that event.
That is what now happened in that particular event. Incited. Let me use the word incited.
Incited.
Incited Fubara. In that particular meeting, you had a B.A. Sekibo also. You had Oko Jumbo in that particular gathering, that bollard of that night. All the speakers that spoke that night were deriding and denigrating Nyesom Wike and urging, Fubara to go on with the battle. In fact, Obdili even said.
Because at that time, people felt that Fubara had already been locked in.
That's right.
With his chief of staff, commissioner, speaker, and everything coming from the other camp.
We were now asking the question, how come now that Odili that had been in political exile all these years, all of a sudden, it was when you started having misgivings with your godfather that you now have to go and bring him back to Rivers State. You understand the point now? You now revered him. Okay. You now saw him like a kingmaker. You now saw him like, you know, an alpha and omega politically. Okay. That if he's on your side, you understand the point now? It then means that you can battle a yes or week of this world and go. And when you have people like Odili in that ballad, Abiye Sekibo there, Oko Jumbo, you have people like Lee Meba, you have people like Osinokpara. These are mortal enemies of, you know, yes or week. So they all gathered. And Odili now became, you know, a force that they had to gather around. They called themselves the Odili political family. Okay. And they were always with Wike-Fubara.
Okay, to fight Wike.
To fight Wike. Okay. So every commissioning that Wike-Fubara was to do that period, you must have all these members of the Odili political camp in that particular campaign.
Okay, and naturally, Wike will feel uncomfortable with
so
all of that.
He had to even do some press conferences.
Okay.
Through Lere Olayinka to rebut some of those allegations and insinuations that the other camp was making. Now you now find out that it was not dealing that now had to, you know, vitalize, you know, that opposition.
The opposition
against Wike. Okay. You understand? They called it Amechi, but Amechi, because he had issues with Odili, Amechi did not agree
and
to
also
participate.
Had issues with Wike.
So he didn't. He wanted to participate and join any of the sides.
Okay, so these are two enemies. So these they cannot be my friends.
Yeah, you can't be my. You understand the point now. But there are those who say the enemy of my friend is my friend, or whatever. I don't know. There's a way they use that word. Yes. So when they found out that Odili was now on Fubara's side, Abiye Sekibo, Osinokpara, so all the perceived enemies of Wike now collapsed into the Odili camp and Sim camp
and started fighting.
Wike.
Okay, that was what now snowballed into the House of Assembly crisis.
Whatever that now
happened. Now, Barrister, let's look at the conditions for peace as we understand it from sources. Finish this term and step aside. Wike to appoint all 23 local government chairpersons.
Yes.
Fubara to pay legislators all outstanding salaries. Yes. And in return, no impeachment proceedings will be initiated against him. Can this be called a peace deal or arm twisting?
It's not arm twisting. It's not arm twisting. You see, I have said this before now, that politics is a matter of negotiating and negotiation.
A matter of negotiation.
Lobbying.
If you were Fubara's advisor, will you ask him to accept this condition?
I will first of all
because essentially, these same conditions that are given him, which supposedly he has accepted, are the conditions that led to the war in the first place. So why go back to
that? Is what I'm saying. The reason why this became a problem was that people incited. I'm using the word open and close. Incited him.
Okay.
Against
so does it look like he's not his own man?
See,
he doesn't have his own mind.
If you look at this man, he's not a politician. Okay. He's not a run-of-the-mill politician. He's a civil servant. You understand the point? And you look at even when the state of emergency was declared, some very stubborn governors will not even come and hand over note to the administrator. Okay. The following day or even hours after emergency was declared, we saw a Fubara who did everything and handed over the documents to the Solar. Do you understand? Okay. And went his own way. And quite recently, this same man came and said that his spirit has even left. You understand?
Yes.
That place. So what I'm trying to say, for those, because people are trying to impute their own characteristics now and their ambition in Wike-Fubara. Wike-Fubara, has anybody asked Wike-Fubara if he really wanted a second term, as the case may be, with his body language?
Barrister, which governor has ever
done? No, there are people.
Can you name one person?
A man like Yaradua, our president, before he died, said he was not going for second tenure.
As president or as governor?
As president, there are people there. You have people like that.
No, these are politicians. Do you take them by their words?
I take them by their words.
Because I have not seen any governor that didn't ask. See,
but in the case of Ambode in Lagos, Ambode did one term.
Ambode was edged out.
It's the same way this man also is being. It's not even edged out. It's the same way this man is conceding not to run. So there's something wrong with it.
Do you see him fully conceding?
He has conceded. He spoke. He has not gone, except the Philistine carpetbaggers who have been urging him on again. Okay. We go there, but I believe there will be no space for them this time around. Because Fubara has come out to tell them he is tired of all this. He has openly to speak in churches and other fora. that he has been.
A lot of people believe that that is the way of politicians.
Not
that
the way
they
of
say
politics.
one thing
Not
and do
so,
another
not so. Fubara has been his man all the while.
Did he disappoint his followers?
It is not disappointing his followers, but the followers have so much belief or trust in the politicians.
So he disappointed them.
I don't think so. The people should think twice and ask themselves, why do you have to see and trust a man? Trust is good, but proof is better.
Okay.
In politics, it's just like the British weather. A day in politics is just like, you understand, a year is not like a day.
A lot of people, Nigerians, if you go to the social media handles, a lot of Nigerians believe that this peace deal collapsed even before it's
This second one?
This one now that we are talking about.
See, those are the Philistine carpetbaggers. There are so many people who are angry now that there's peace in River State. Let me tell you.
You know why they are angry? A lot of people.
Even some musicians, musicians gain from it. A particular musician, when Wike and Wike-Fubara were good together, he sang, they pain them, they sweet them. Is it not so?
Okay.
Then when they had issues, he now come day or day.
Day.
He benefited.
I understand.
You know the musicians. So
you know why?
What I'm trying to say, there are people
okay,
who are not happy that there is peace, and those are the people who are writing that it will collapse. They are prophets of doom.
Barrister, that could be the political class, who more like will not be getting whatever they used to get from Wike-Fubara. But the average Rivers man feels that, look, this arrangement is not going to work because essentially, Wike is still the governor of Rivers State.
It doesn't matter.
So it doesn't make them. No, it matters to this.
Let me tell you.
Shouldn't it matter to these people?
Let me tell you, in this particular state we are, Rivers State, Tinubu remains the president and even the de facto governor of Rivers State, of Lagos State. But progress is going on work is going on in Rivers State.
But Lagosians are not happy.
No, you must say. We are not talking about happiness of the people, as the case may be.
No, but shouldn't matter.
That is a situation that ought to be.
So essentially,
that is a situation that ought to be. But we're talking about what is right now.
Essentially, what I'm saying is that the average Rivers man is not satisfied with this peace deal because to them, it's bring back Wike as the de facto governor of Rivers State.
Why do you think? With the question I'm putting rhetorically to them is this: why do they think that with a Wike-Fubara and Wike working together, that there will be no development in Rivers State? Who told them so? Before now, it was during the time they opened up together, Wike and Fubara, that Mr. Wike was named Mr. Project by an APC government led by the Osinbajo. And it was the project, it is still the project of Wike as governor for 8 years that Wike-Fubara is carrying on. It is still the vision of Wike and President Tinubu. That is they call it as in hope. What they call it again? The president renewed hope.
Renewed hope.
for every step Sim has taken, even when the crisis lasted, said that is in support of the renewed hope agenda of the president.
That was a political statement.
No, it's a political statement that he has not you have not demystified it.
Are you aware?
Yes.
You are a Port Harcourt boy, like I normally call you. When Wike was in office, IGR of River State used to be like between 8 to 10 billion naira per month. And when this problem started, suddenly the IGR rose from 20 to 30
do you have statistics? So do we have statistics?
If you go back to the...
No, these are... I saw those things.
You saw those things.
I saw those things, even as it is.
So what happened?
Let me tell you.
I'm sorry, Barrister. Okay. So the average Rivers man believes that, look, that a lot went down during the government of Nyesom, and that Wike-Fubara, might be more transparent.
Okay.
As a result of the problem that came. So clearly the average Rivers man wants to Wike out of Rivers. Let him concentrate, in Abuja. So I go back to the question, does it look like, with Wike as the governor, de facto governor of Rivers State, do you think that the average Rivers man is happy about it?
The average Rivers man is happy.
That
it might not be the majority, but there's a war between average and majority Rivers man.
Okay.
Or Rivers people. Okay. The average Rivers man is happy because there's peace in Rivers State too. Let me answer that question directly.
Was there ever war in Rivers State?
There was political war because
there was political crisis. Political crisis. There's political crisis.
You understand that shook the state to its foundation. That an arm of government was shut down, the legislature by the executive governor, that they could not function, and you say it's democracy? When the courts have not pronounced that their seats are vacated, you vacated it arbitrarily with a sweep of the hand, and you withheld their whatever. Then 2 or 3 people out of 32 House of Assembly people were attending functions, passing budgets in a kangaroo manner, and you were happy with it. And you call that democracy? Is that what Stanley Motescu talked about that says that 3 arms of government, legislature, executive, judicature must function together? But in Rivers State, the legislative arm was killed in a particular situation where the governor, had to, go, and the House of Assembly was brought down. Some said it was bombed. A situation where an arm of government was now sitting in the government house, eating pepper soup and jollof rice in the backyard of the governor. And you say democracy. I'm coming, sir.
I keep going back to Rivers.
I'm coming. You know what I'm coming, sir?
Okay.
Let me answer the last question. And the last question you talk about here is that the IGR, or whatever as you call it, during week, which is 10 million or 10 billion. For me, it's a fallacy. If you say that it was 10 million as at that time, the car you bought about 8 years ago for 2 million, can you buy it for the same 2 million today? You're going to buy it with a higher amount of money. That's number one. Number two.
Okay.
Who told you that even as it is, assuming without considering that it is true, that the IGR of Rivers State has improved? As if SIM leaves government by 2027 and a new governor comes, and he begins to rake in IGR of 100 million, a billion per month, are you going to tell that SIM did not do his job, or he ate, or embezzled, or he underdeclared, the IGR that was generated by the state as that time, as at his administration? I don't think so. See, there are plural arguments that have been put forward by naysayers. Those Philistine carpetbaggers who have benefited from this crisis, we call them Orina crisis in Rivers State. Now, what happens is that if there are no obituaries, vultures, or those selling black clothes will not wear black clothes. You can never see vulture now.
Okay.
Moving around and say there's a dead body and smelling whatever.
Okay, now, Barrister Asim,
Yes.
well, if you talk about the IGR, I'm happy that you said that you saw the records.
I didn't see the record.
Okay,
I said
the records
peddled.
were
I
there.
said peddled.
Okay,
Peddled.
no, the records were there.
Peddled. It was a
there's
peddled
something they
records.
call the state STAF. It is something that the states put out every quarterly, on their website to be able to, with the Federal Ministry of Finance Incorporated and all of that. I think I saw those records. The IGR actually did increase, and it was a sudden transformation.
Do you know that the IGR?
And it also started.
Do you know that the IGR
problem-
of Jeso Wike compared to Amechi, Jeso Wike increased the IGR of Rivers State above what Amechi was declared during his tenure or administration? Okay. So are you going to say that Amechi did not perform with the indices?
No, it's not the issue of
Oh, did you say he didn't generate?
I'm looking at what the average
No, the
university
question I'm asking now is that I gave you a straight one. That the IGR generated during Amechi's time was lower than what Wike generated in his administration.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand the point.
You know why?
We do not say that
you know
Amechi did not or embezzled his IGR during his tenure.
No, a lot of people believe that even Fubara, as the accountant general then,
Yes.
was party to all that happened in the IGR. So he more like wanted to put it out for people to understand what happened or what went down in the past. Now, let's leave the IGR thing. We understand what happened. The issue of now these 27 lawmakers.
Yes.
To which party do they belong?
The Supreme Court has said they did not defect.
Okay.
You understand? And they also said we didn't defect. So if they said they didn't defect, and Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, has said they did not defect. Do you understand? That defection takes more than waving flag on social media. I can come in and wear a jersey of a football club. Does that mean do I play for the club?
But
you understand?
A certain Tony Okocha also said that, look, these people are no longer PDP members. They belong to our party. The
Okocha
APC.
is not the judiciary.
No, but he's a party chairman.
He's a party chairman does not mean, look, his word does not mean law. Because if he goes to court and I cross-examine him, you will find out that his word does not mean law. He has the right to his own opinion.
Don't you think that the judiciary might have been influenced in taking that decision?
Is it when it does not favor a particular group, they say judiciary has been influenced?
Okay.
But when it favors them, they say judiciary is the best. In Rivers State, the Court of Appeal gave judgments in favor of Wike-Fubara. The High Courts in Rivers State gave judgment. The people, his supporters will say, oh, the judiciary has come to stay. But the moment the judiciary gives an order that maybe they feel Wike is going to gain from, they now say Wike is the one that influenced the judiciary. He has built houses for them. That is why they gave the order. That is the question we have been talking about. Justice Omotosho gave a judgment order that was not obeyed. That was not, people were supporting until Supreme Court shut. They went to appeal. The appeal court shut it down. You were not still satisfied. You now went to court, Supreme Court. At the Supreme Court, when the matter got there, the matters that were before the Supreme Court were different appeals. But in your appeal, you raised a cross appeal on the issue of 27 lawmakers. And when you raise a cross appeal in an appeal, that matter will be determined as if it's a substantive suit.
Yes, because
and that was what came about this.
Many Nigerians were surprised that was the issue of the 27 lawmakers was not part of the release.
It was a cross appeal.
But the Supreme Court had to delve into it.
Because it's a cross appeal. Because it is a cross appeal. You are not satisfied, so you want the Supreme Court to tell you.
Who brought up the cross appeal?
It was the same Fubara, lawyers. And to be very honest,
they were dissatisfied with the judgment of the appeal court.
A certain area, they awarded to them, but they were not happy, so they had to do it. It's called a cross appeal.
Okay.
I may not be able to explain to you here now.
What would have happened?
People like the great Femi Falana were on the side of Fubara.
Okay.
They have not spoken since, which means they knew exactly what the legal is and the objectivity of what has happened. I know Femi Falana as a lawyer that if that particular judgment or whatever was not something that was on his merit, he would have challenged it on open television. You understand?
What would have happened if the Fubara camp didn't send in the cross appeal?
I don't know for
what
them.
What would have been the situation
Then the matter would have gone, all the matters would have gone from High Court to Court of Appeal, then to Supreme Court.
Okay.
But you now find that because of the fact that the matter has been decided on that merit, it is now knocking down all those other matters that are in the lower court. So it was something that the judiciary did to save, the dismembering of our constitution and the lobotomizing of, sections of our constitution. You understand the point? Now that is, they gave that particular order to kill the matter. You understand?
Yes, I do.
Kill it, so it becomes res judicata. So at the end of the day, it's good for democracy. Okay. And I'm very sure that it was based on this Supreme Court judgment now that even accentuated, why the other parties now say I think we have gotten it wrong here.
Okay.
Let us see if we can reconsider our stand.
Okay.
And begin to seek
and make amends.
And make amends.
Okay.
You understand?
Now, with this, one of the conditions, Barrister, is that the impeachment proceedings will be dropped. It looks like a sort of Damocles, hanging on Fubara's head, that any time he veers off the peace deal, they will have to go back to it. So,
impeachment is not an illegality, it's not a coup. Under our constitution, it is there.
Okay.
So it is not contrived. Impeachment is not like state of emergency.
It looks contrived because they are now using it as a tradable.
No, what I mean by
for the other party is a tradable. If you don't do this, we are going to impeach you.
No, it is not.
So he's always on his toes.
See, let me tell you.
They're always putting the fire under his feet.
You see, what I love about this agreement, this second one, is because the two generals came together.
Okay.
Shook hands, and they said it's enough. In the last one, we didn't see something like this happening.
Is it that they came together and shook hands, or is it that Fubara was the one that made peace overtures? We saw him go to London secretly to meet the president.
The reason is because he has seen reason.
He had gone to Wike's house.
The reason is because he has seen reason. As a politician, if you play politics, let me tell you one thing. The leader of my political party in my ward is my younger brother.
Okay.
I call him leader.
Okay.
Because I am in politics.
So essentially, Fubara was negotiating at this last moment from a point of weakness.
It's not a point of weakness. negotiation.
Okay, if he was not negotiating from a point of weakness, why would he accept, that the 23 local government chairpersons will have to be nominated by a weekend?
You know one thing I love about analysis, when people analyze in vain and in vacuum, what I refer to in vacuum. Why I'm very happy is that some armchair critics with their Nokia 3310 will sit down and begin to pontificate and spew.
Okay.
Have you seen the agreement signed?
No, these are sources.
No, I'm coming.
Okay.
The sources are told is what they tell you in law is called hearsay. Can you substantiate hearsay evidence in court?
Okay, so Barrister, do you believe that they just sat together?
I'm coming. Until you see the agreement.
You might never see it because it's a political agreement.
The reason I'm saying is this. Is either you see the agreement or you were a witness. You will not say, I heard from a witness. So if you did not participate in this meeting, you don't have that premature.
Okay, now, Barrister, do you believe that these two parties just met and said, okay, let bygone be bygone, and let's go back to work?
You know one thing people
there must be conditions.
You know what people don't
Concessions
understand.
must have been made. Compromises made.
Let me tell you one thing. I participated in some political meetings during the Adams Oshomole era. All right? The speaker then of my state was my cousin, who is late now. In the morning at about 1 a.m., he will wake us up and say, come and escort me. We are going to see Oga. When we drive there with Babariga.
Okay.
At times, I'll be wearing knicker. You understand? Because it's early in the morning yet. By the time you get to where the meeting is taking place inside government house, it's a beehive of activities. By the time we are driving back to city, the city is asleep. I don't know if you understand the point.
Yes, I do.
Tomorrow morning, you just hear news break. We that were part of it will be sleeping.
Okay.
While others who were not part will be speculating and pontificating, insinuating.
At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, it is those of us who were there who say, no, I was there. Okay, this is what happened.
Okay, but does it look like what people put out there is similar to what you people discuss, the agreement? Because most times that we hear
most of them are lies. Let me tell you one thing.
Okay.
In a situation where social media has now become a terrorist organization, as Sultan said, that social media has now become another terrorist organization. You know why? There is what we call AI. Do you know I saw President Donald Trump dancing? When I watched the picture, I thought it was President Trump that was dancing with a t-shirt and having a cigar on his mouth. It was so real.
Okay.
So it was so real as it was somebody that...
Okay, so you essentially, what you're saying is that social media is also part of the problem. Okay, but Barrister, I mean, in the coming days...
You know that even in the judicature...
Barrister, we are out of time. Okay. In the coming days, we will understand all that transpired within the walls of Asoro.
Oh, wonderful peace.
I mean, everybody wants peace.
Do you know what's going on? There's jubilation. I call River State.
Okay, you call River State.
Do you know that?
People are happy.
People, or even on Facebook.
They might be happy because Fubara is likely to be reinstated as
it's going to be reinstated with all these things now.
Okay, with all this.
So look at what's going to happen.
On this condition.
No, that condition.
On this condition.
I told you that.
Now, let's look at 2027 because a lot of people also believe that these conditions are premised on 2027.
Absolutely.
Like the president wants Rivers delivered
even for me, I want to contest 2027. I have ambition.
Okay.
So
now, Wike also wants to deliver.
All of us have ambition. We have ambition.
Now, do you see Wike-Fubara moving over to APC if he's going to work on the condition that, look, you don't even have to recontest in 2027?
Yes. See,
what would be the need of him moving over to APC?
Do you know why I cannot rule out his moving over to APC or any other political party? Because Nigerian politics, I've been using the word here, is prescriptive and transactional. Let us not deceive ourselves. You can see, no matter how language, no matter how rich you are, you understand, no matter how fluent you are in spoken English, if you want to go and contest as a councillor in your locality, you can't just jump into the fray.
Okay.
You must look for somebody. That is what obtained, not what ought to be. Like say, I'll go and stand at the podium as if you are doing a SUG whatever in a university. No.
Okay, Barrister, we're out of time.
Do you understand
your concluding thoughts
My
on,
concluding
on
thoughts,
the peace deal?
The peace deal is
that people say
I said
has
Rivers
even
people,
collapsed before it started.
Rivers people, I'm very happy that, you know, Yeso Wike and his godson have seen reason and they've come back to reconcile. And they are reconciled. The only thing I'll tell the Philistine carpetbaggers, those who have been using SIM to fight the proxy war, they should know now that, let me tell you, the two of them are one and the same. So do not come back to come and, you know, bring in bad blood. Bad blood will not work again because we are tired of all this war. We have to work. Rivers State used to be a united, political family.
Okay.
And that is how it's going to continue.
Okay, this is how it's going to continue.
Wike is leading right now.
Wike is leading. In Rivers State, where you have a sitting governor and another person is leading. Oh,
the sitting governor knows that he has a governor. In Lagos, the governor knows he has a godfather in Abuja.
Barrister, don't
he
you think
that he has a godfather in Abuja.
Is that a good political culture that we are
building? That is what obtains now. Okay. If you break it, then we can now join the fray.
Okay, Wike-Fubara tried to break it and a lot of
it's
people resisted. This will be a good place to anchor this conversation. Many thanks to you, Barrister Asim Adams, for coming to Political Lens. We appreciate your presence. I hope that we can do this some other time.
I'm so absolutely glad if I'm invited.
All right, thank you, sir. On behalf of the backroom staff, the technical director, bus manager, sound engineer, and ingest manager, I am Chukwuma Okoro. Up next is Issues with Jerry Apollo High. Stay with us and don't go away. And do have a very wonderful weekend.